This is the last leg of the circle alignment that started in Algiers, Algeria. From there, so far, we have traveled through Mali, Guinea, Brazil, Colombia, Panama, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, Mexico, the United States, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Scotland, England, France, and now we are at Barcelona on Spain's Costa Brava on the Mediterranean Sea, heading back to Algiers. My name is Michelle Gibson. Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia and the second largest city in Spain after Madrid. I traveled to this part of Spain on an American Express tour with a friend when I was in the United States Army and stationed in Augsburg, Germany from 1983 to 1985. The tour was based out of Lloret de Mar, a resort town 40 miles or 66 kilometers northeast of Barcelona, further up the Mediterranean coast on the alignment. After we arrived at Lloret de Mar, there was enough daylight left to go do some exploring. This is the first place we saw that got our interest. It is called St. John's Castle. It is said to date back to the 1100s, from the age of Lady Sicardus and her sons, who were the lords of Lloret. Apparently, she ordered the construction of the castle. British Navy is said to have bombarded the castle during the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 and effectively destroyed the fortified site. Lady Sicardus is also said to have donated the land for and ordered the construction of the Chapel of Les Alegres, shown on the left, where the roads to Tossa, Macanet, Santa Coloma, and Girona met. It was consecrated in 1079. I can't find any further biographical information about the Lady of Sicardus. On the right is a church I found in Jalapa, Mexico, which looks quite similar in conceptual design. I also remembered seeing the colorful dome of this place on the top left in Lloret de Mar. Come to find out, it is the parish church of Lloret de Mar. For comparison of fine design and color, I have included the Buxton Memorial Fountain in London, England on the top right, the dome of the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception at Catholic University in Washington, D.C. on the bottom left, and the Plummer Building of the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota on the bottom right. Here is a different view of the National Shrine at Catholic University. Look at the size of that thing. We traveled to Barcelona for a day of sightseeing. What I remember most clearly from Barcelona is the Basilica of the Sagrada Familia. It is said to have been designed by local Catalan architect Antoni Gaudí, with construction beginning in 1882. I have consistently found that huge monumental works of architecture around the world have been assigned builders with dates and histories in relatively recent times. The problem is, what they are said to have accomplished doesn't fit the historical narrative we've been given. Like, how was that building constructed over 130 years ago when we can't even build something like this today with modern equipment? Here's another example attributed to Antoni Gaudí. This is called the Parc Güell in Barcelona and is said to have been built between 1900 and 1914. At the top of those two whimsical gingerbread-looking structures, you find what looks like a pine cone. You will even find a statue celebrating the venerable pine cone in the Vatican. While based on the same Fibonacci golden mean geometry in nature as compared to what the actual geometry is for the golden mean, what they are not telling us is that these are representations of the pineal gland, which looks like a pine cone, but is in reality a big secret being hidden in plain sight from humanity. Also known as the third eye, when activated, it opens the door to psychic abilities and is our connection to the divine. Much has been done to keep people's third eye from opening, including the use of fluoride in toothpaste and water, which causes the calcification of the pineal gland. The original civilization on Earth was learning how to raise Kundalini energy from the base of the spine up to the pineal gland, and thus reconnect with the divine. And they did this individually and as a collective around the world. This is an aerial view of Barcelona. We are talking about some serious city planning with all the geometries of the street layout that are on display here. And the blocks of buildings look like numbers, letters, or Mayan glyphs visually to me. Some sort of binary code, maybe? Did this happen randomly? I don't think so. Another day trip that I went on my visit there was to Montserrat, described as a multi-peaked mountain range. Nestled in one of these peaks is the Benedictine monastery of Santa Maria de Montserrat. Montserrat houses one of Europe's many Black Madonna and Child depictions. There are approximately 500 such depictions throughout Europe. Here's a comparison of the similar features of this tower at Montserrat on the left with those of the Plummer Building in Rochester, Minnesota in the middle, and the Victoria Tower at Westminster Palace in London, England on the right. The delta of the river Ebro, spelled E-B-R-O, is 100 miles or 150 kilometers southwest of Barcelona in Tortosa. An interesting sound connection can be made here between Ebro, Hiberia, Iberia, Hebrew. I'm going to tie all of this together at the end with what I believe to be true about the ancient advanced civilization based on all of my research findings. This is the city of Tortosa, dominated by the castle of Tortosa. It is acknowledged to have been built by the Moors, and was the site of a 5-month siege during the Second Crusade in 1148, after which Tortosa was captured by the Crusaders. The appearance of the castle above the city immediately brought to mind Edinburgh Castle in Scotland on the top left, Hohensalzburg Fortress in Austria on the top right, Carcassonne Fortress in southern France on the bottom left, and Montségur Fortress in southern France. Montségur was the site of a 9-month siege that is called the Last Stand of the Cathars. After they surrendered, over 200 Cathars who refused to convert were burned alive. Montségur sits on top of this pyramidal peak in southern France. From Barcelona, the alignment enters the Balearic Sea of the Mediterranean Sea on its way to the island of Majorca, or Mallorca, the largest of the Balearic Islands. This is Cap de Formentor, where the alignment enters the island of Majorca. I'm quite sure that you are seeing an intentional solar alignment in this picture of it. Just like what you see on Fernando de Noronha, an island off of the coast of Brazil on a different alignment. These are two examples of a worldwide phenomena of solar and lunar alignments, either found in the landscape or in mounds and megaliths. The alignment crosses over the Serra Tramuntana, described as a mountain range that runs southwest to northeast across northern Majorca, and is also a national park. On the top left are stone terraces at the Serra Tramuntana, which are similar to what you find at Machu Picchu in Peru on the top right, and near Malum in the Yorkshire Dales National Park on the bottom, seen earlier in northern England on the same alignment. Speaking of Peru, where the Inca civilization flourished, there is actually a city named Inca on the alignment on Majorca. The church in Inca, called Santa Maria la Mayor, is shown on the left, which shares similar characteristics with the Chapel de les Alegres we saw back in Lloret de Mar on the right. Next on the alignment, we come to Palma, the capital and largest city of the Balearic Islands. Palma is a major port, shown on the top left. Compare it in appearance to the other side of the continent of Europe, in different countries in the English Channel, at the Strait of Dover, with the harbor of Dover, England on the top right, and the harbor of Calais, France on the bottom. This is Belver Castle in Palma. It was said to have been built in the 14th century for King James II of Majorca, and is one of the few round castles in Europe. This interesting-looking building is the Cathedral of Santa Maria de Palma. The Catalan Atlas was produced by the master map maker Crescus Abraham of the Majorcan Cartographic School, and is considered the most important map of the medieval period in the Catalan language. It definitely looks like a map that shows specific planetary ley lines. Among the many people routinely found in Majorcan maps are traders on the trans-Saharan routes and Mansa Musa, the emperor of Mali in the 1300s, and believed to have been the richest person in the history of the world, sitting on a gold mine. I talked about him in the second part of this Algiers series. From the research I have done for these videos, I believe there is a valuable treasure of great significance to humanity in the historic Catalonia and the Languedoc in France that has been deeply buried in order to hide it from view forever. Come to think of it, why is the Cathedral of Barcelona, the capital of Catalonia in Spain, called Sagrada Familia? The translation of this in English is Holy Family. It could be Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, or it could mean something else entirely. Leaving Majorca at Palma, we arrive at the place we started, Algiers, the capital of Algeria, and the ancient city of the Deys. The title of Dey is one of the 5 noble titles of the Moors, El, Bey, Dey, Al, and Ali. Ancient means something belonging to the very distant past. As part of the conclusion of this particular series, I would like to tie the different elements of my research together into a summary of how I see all of the pieces fitting together in a comprehensive way. I have demonstrated through my work that the same infrastructure styles and characteristics are found in very different places around the world. This is a bridge in Feuilletine, France, on the left, where my dad's Huguenot ancestors likely lived, and on the right is a bridge in Bradford-on-Avon, England, where my mom's ancestors lived. I believe that all were built by one and the same civilization, and not separate ones that weren't in communication with each other as we have been taught. I believe the word Moor is directly derived from Muur, spelled M-U'-U-R, which is how the Washita of North America refer to themselves. The Washita Moors are recognized as the oldest indigenous civilization on Earth by the United Nations, and their history traces back at least as far as Mu, which is also known as Lemuria. Human history on Earth is way more ancient than we can even begin to comprehend. There are records and traditions of whole nations being divided into 12 tribes and 12 regions, each corresponding to one of the 12 signs of the zodiac and to one of the 12 months of the year, all formed around a sacred center. In my research as well, I have found people in different countries identifying themselves as one of the 12 tribes. The Pathans of Pakistan are one example, and the Kuki of India are another. It stands to reason that these people would apply the same concepts of harmony, balance, beauty, sacred geometry, and aligning heaven and earth to building their communities that they applied to building all of the infrastructure of the planet. Were the ancient ones, the Moors, divided into 12 tribes? Were they the children of Israel? I think the information that would answer this is part of the missing history. The Islam of the ancient ones is about the applied knowledge of sacred geometry and universal and natural laws, which is what Moorish science is all about. Moorish Masons are the keepers of the Kemetic, also known as the Egyptian, mysteries. This is the great seal of the Moors. The Moors are friends of humanity, with 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are all about teachings to activate the pineal gland and about the human potential to reconnect to our divine natures in this lifetime. You can see that certain symbols were co-opted from the original and have come to have negative associations, like associating the pyramid with the eye on top of it with Big Brother, the New World Order, and the Illuminati, which was not the original meaning. And it looks remarkably like what you find on the back of the $1 bill. It's confusing because we have been taught that the Egyptians only built their pyramids in Egypt, when in actuality the same science of applied sacred geometry and natural laws was applied worldwide on a sophisticated planetary grid system. That the tribes of Israel were only located in a certain geographic area in the Middle East, and that Islam is an organized religion that has existed for a long time, as has Christianity and Judaism. I believe that organized religions were introduced as a control mechanism when humanity's positive timeline was hijacked. The parasitic hijackers, relatively recently in time, far more recently than what one would think, stole the template and the legacy of the people of higher consciousness who created all of this, and proceeded to portray all of the pillars of this beautiful civilization as separate. All of this was part of a nefarious, concerted effort by non-humans to control humanity for their own benefit and not ours. I believe we are living in times of great change for the better, and that the Great Awakening is happening right now. Take what I have shared into consideration as new background information regarding to what appears to have taken place without the knowledge or consent of humanity. In my next series, I will be featuring the Washington, D.C. circle alignment.